For a lot of people, turning 67 feels like crossing the finish line. You've hit full retirement age, you're eligible for your full Social Security benefits with no penalties, no reduction, and it feels like the perfect time to finally start collecting. So naturally, many people do. In fact, for Americans born after 1960, age 67 has become the default choice. But here's the truth. Most people take Social Security at 67 not because it's the best decision, but it's because they assume it is. They've seen the number printed on their statement. They've been told 67 is their full benefit. And in the absence of a clear strategy, defaulting to that age feels safe, comfortable, and even responsible. But retirement planning isn't about doing what feels comfortable. It's about making strategic decisions that align with your income needs, tax picture, longevity, and long-term goal. And depending on your situation, taking Social Security at 67 could limit future flexibility and tax planning opportunities. Hello, I'm Scott Norris. I'm an investment advisor with Royal Fund Management, and I own Nexus Financial Group. Over the years, I've helped retirees and pre-retirees evaluate when to take Social Security, not based upon what's typical, but what's based upon right for their plan. So today in this video, I'm going to break down why so many people take Social Security at 67, what they might be missing, and how to determine if that age actually works for your retirement strategy. And if you want to run the numbers with professional guidance, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can schedule a no obligation call using the link in the description below to explore your options in more detail. So let's get started. Part 1. Why 67 feels like the safe choice? Let's start with the obvious question. Why do many people take Social Security at age 67? It's not always because they've run a detailed retirement income plan. More often than not, it's because 67 feels safe. For those born in 1960 or later, 67 is your full retirement age, or FRA. That's the age when you're eligible to receive your full Social Security benefit without any reduction for early filing. It's what the Social Security Administration bases your primary insurance amount, or PIA, on, and it's printed on your annual statement, and it becomes what many people think of as their normal or default age to claim. So naturally, when you reach 67, it feels like the finish line. You've made it. You're entitled to 100% of your benefit, so why wait? But it goes beyond the math. There are a few deeper reasons why 67 feels like the natural choice. It's simple. There's no complicated formula to figure out. You're at your full retirement age, you get your full benefit, there's no penalties, no reduction. That's simply appealing. You've likely stopped working, and for many people, 67 aligns with the end of your career. You may have stopped working or reduced your hours, and Social Security helps replace that lost paycheck. You're on Medicare. By age 65, you've possibly enrolled in your Medicare, so some of the major uncertainties like your health care are now covered. Starting Social Security feels like the next natural step, and it feels like a reward. You've been paying into the system for decades, and 67, it feels like the government is finally saying, here's your full benefit and you've earned this. And to be fair, none of this is wrong. There's nothing inherently bad about taking your Social Security benefit at 67, especially if it's part of a broader, well-coordinated retirement plan. But the key point is this: just because 67 is common doesn't mean it's optimizing your benefit. And if you take Social Security at 67 without considering the long-term tax impact, the opportunity cost of delaying, or the role it plays in your household income plan, you could be making a decision that limits your flexibility later. That's why it's so important to look beyond the surface and ask, is this truly the best time for me to claim, or is it just what I've been conditioned to believe? In the next part, we're going to explore what you might be giving up, and not even by realizing it. By taking Social Security at 67, what you might be missing by taking it at 67. On the surface, taking Social Security at 67 feels like you're getting the full benefit. There's no early penalty, no late bonuses. It seems like a clean, middle-of-the-road option. But here's what many people don't realize. By filing at 67, you're making a decision that quietly closes the door on some very powerful planning opportunities. Let's walk through what that means. You're giving up the 8% annual growth on one of the biggest advantages of delaying Social Security past full retirement age, is that your benefit is going to grow guaranteed by roughly 8% per year until age 70. Let's say your benefit at age 67 is $3,000 a month. If you delay until 70, that could move that up to about $38.40 per month, and including cost of living adjustments, that could be $10,000 a year or more for the rest of your life. And if you live into your 80s and 90s, that can add up to over 6 figures in your retirement. And that benefit doesn't just help you, it could also benefit your surviving spouse, which we're going to cover more later. 2, you lose the opportunity for strategic tax planning. The years between retirement and age 70 can be an ideal window for tax strategy. Why? Because you might have little to no earned income, but you also haven't started taking your RMDs or your Social Security yet, and that gives you a chance to do Roth conversions at a lower tax rate. You could harvest capital gains without bumping into higher tax bracket. You can reduce the future size of your required minimum distributions from your IRA. But once you start your Social Security, your taxable income is going to go up, which can shrink or eliminate these opportunities. By filing at 67, you may be inadvertently locking into higher taxes down the road. 3, you may trigger a higher tax burden later. Starting benefits earlier means your IRA may stay untouched a little longer, and while that might sound good now, it often leads to larger account balances when RMDs begin at age 73, and that could lead to bigger withdrawals, higher income brackets, and more of your Social Security becoming taxable, and even surcharges on your Medicare premium known as IRMA. So ironically, trying to preserve your investments by claiming Social Security early could result in more taxes later. 4, you could be locking in a lower survivor benefit if you're married and you're the higher income earner. The decision you make about Social Security just doesn't affect you. It affects your spouse. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse typically keeps the higher of the 2 Social Security checks. So if you file at 67 instead of delaying to 70, you're potentially reducing the survivor benefit your spouse could one day receive. That one choice could mean $500 to $800 less per month for your partner, possibly for the rest of their lives. So here's the key takeaway. Filing at 67 might feel like the balanced option, but it's not just a neutral choice, it's a directional one. You're making a call about guaranteed income, long-term tax exposure, and how flexible your retirement plan will be in the future. And if you make that choice without a coordinated strategy in place, you might be leaving more than money on the table. You could be sacrificing peace of mind. Part 3. When 67 is a smart choice. Now up to this point, we've talked about what you might be missing by filing at 67. But let's be clear, age 67 can absolutely be the right choice for some retirees. The key is that it's done intentionally as part of a well-coordinated plan. So let's walk through a few scenarios where 67 is not only reasonable, it's strategic. Number 1, you need the income now to cover essential expenses. If you're retiring right around the age of 67 and your savings alone cannot comfortably support your spending needs, then starting Social Security makes complete sense. You're not penalized for claiming at full retirement age, and having that guaranteed income can help reduce the pressure on your portfolio withdrawals. And for many retirees, it's about stability and confidence, and Social Security can provide exactly that. Number 2, you're not interested in advanced tax strategies. Not every retiree wants to spend their early retirement years managing Roth conversions or rebalancing accounts for optimizing their tax situation. And if your plan is simple and you live off Social Security and draw modestly from your savings, then starting benefits at 67 could be just fine, especially if your tax brackets won't change much over time. The opportunity cost of delaying may not be significant in your case. Number 3, you have health concerns or a shorter life expectancy. This is very personal and often difficult consideration. If your health isn't strong, if there's a family history that suggests that you may not live well into your 80s or 90s, delaying Social Security may not pay off. And in those cases, it often makes more sense to begin collecting benefits sooner and enjoy the income while you're most likely to benefit from it. Number 4, you're the lower earning spouse. In a couple, many married households, one spouse has a significantly lower Social Security benefit than the other. together. And it's often strategic for the lower earning spouse to claim earlier, while the higher earner delays to age 70 to maximize the household's long-term income and survivor benefits. So if you're the lower earner, claiming at age 67 may be part of a larger strategy that strengthens your household's overall financial picture. Here's the bottom line. 67 is not inherently wrong, but it should never be chosen simply because it's the default or what your statement shows. If it fits your goals, your income needs, and your overall strategy, then yes, 67 can be a smart, well-timed decision. But make sure it's your plan, not just habit. Part 4, consider the bigger picture before you file. So now we've seen both sides, why 67 feels like normal or a safe choice, what you could be missing by claiming at that age, and the situations where 67 truly does make sense. But here's where it all comes together. Filing for Social Security isn't just a milestone, it's a trigger point. It sets in motion a series of decisions that ripple through the rest of your retirement plan. And once you file, you cannot go back and change it. So it's worth slowing down and asking a few important questions. 1, how will this impact my taxes over the next 10 to 15 years? Social Security may be tax advantaged, but it's still taxable depending on your income. So ask yourself, will filing now raise my taxable income and bump me into a higher tax bracket? Am I giving up low tax years that could have been used for Roth conversions? Could I be triggering IRMA surcharges on my Medicare premiums? Looking at this through a multi-year lens often reveals opportunities or risks you might not see in a single year snapshot. Number 2, how does this coordinate with my investment withdrawals? Starting Social Security earlier may reduce how much you pull from your portfolio now, but it may also lead to larger required minimum distributions later, which can increase and reduce flexibility when you may need it most. So consider, will this increase my future drawdowns? Am I trading short-term relief for long-term rigidity? Remember, a higher guaranteed income later often gives you more options. 3, what happens if I or my spouse lives a long time? This is easy to overlook, but crucial. If you're married and the higher earner, your filing decision directly affects your spouse's future. If you pass away first, your spouse inherits the benefit amount. So filing early can reduce the income they're left with. So ask yourself, if I delay, would it significantly strengthen the survivor's benefit? How important is guaranteed income for my spouse if I'm not here? Number 4, am I making this choice based on strategy or habit? This is a big one. 67 might feel normal, but normal isn't always optimal. So ask, is this decision based on my actual retirement goals or just what I've seen on my statement for years? Because when Social Security is timed intentionally based on the full context of your tax picture, portfolio, and household income, and also your life expectancy, it becomes a powerful piece of a bigger plan. So why do most people take Social Security at 67? Because it feels familiar, because it's printed on the statement, and because no one told them to stop and ask, is this the actual best choice for my retirement? Here's the takeaway. 67 is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a strategic fork in the road, and the direction you take can shape your taxes, your income, and your flexibility, and even your spouse's future security. So before you file, take a step back and ask the bigger question. How does this affect the rest of my retirement plan? What are the long-term consequences, not just the short-term benefits? And if you want help answering those questions and building a strategy that fits your life, your goals, and your financial future, book a call with me using the link in the description below, because retirement doesn't require guesswork. It requires a plan.